So we've got a new panel up here. We're going through different metal panelists here. This is awesome. Joining me right now, well, all three of these folks have played in the Dio band at one point in Ronnie's career. On keyboards, who also did work with Ronnie when he was in Sabbath under Heaven and Hell. On keyboards here, Mr. Scott Warren. Good to see you, Scott. Hello, Eddie. And next to him, Ronnie's longtime drummer and a guy that also played in a band you may have heard of called AC/DC, and a band that I kind of heard of called UFO. Simon Wright over here. Good to see you, Simon.
How you doing? All right.
And I remember when this guy got the gig in Dio, and everyone was talking about, Ronnie just hired this guy that's like 9 years old to play guitar for Dio. And now he looks like he's about 15 years old.
16.
16, maybe. But here's Rowan Robertson from the Dio album Lock Up the Wolves joining us. Good to see you, Rowan. Speak, Rowan, so everybody can hear your voice.
Hey, Eddie.
How are you, man? Good to
I'm
see
good.
you.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
For real, how old were you when you got the gig?
I was actually 10. I was 17.
You were 17.
Yeah.
And you got picked to be Ronnie's guitarist. Tell that story. I know you have in the past, but...
Well, I read in Kerrang magazine that they needed a guitar player because Craig Goldie was no longer in the group. And I decided to send a tape, and I sent it to the record company. And I took a 4-track recorder, and I recorded Last in Line, a solo to Last in Line, and I sent the tape, and they sent it back to me. So I found the fan club address in the US. I sent it over, and Wendy called me up, and they eventually brought me out into audition.
And we all know and have established that Ronnie is partial to the Brits and loves the Brits. Did that accent help you a little bit?
It did, lucky for me.
What was it like joining such an icon like Dio at 17? What was that experience like, and were your parents okay with it?
Yeah, my parents were okay with it. I had nothing to compare it against, so it was like, oh, this is how life goes. This is all right. This is cool.
How much had you done? How much had you done prior to that? Musically?
Nothing. I played in like a couple pubs.
And this is long before the days of like now, you know, you put something on YouTube, you see some kid playing, hey, that kid got the gig. I mean, this is sending the tape and...
Yeah, it was like a fairy story. Suddenly it was like from like my bedroom in Cambridge in school to like wild parties in Los Angeles and just like lots of hangovers.
You were Greta Van Fleet before Greta Van Fleet. You realize that, right?
I
said you were Greta Van Fleet before Greta Van Fleet because they're young kids too.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, they owe me money.
They owe you money, exactly. Simon, I was trying to think of this, and because you have such a long history with Dio, I was trying to remember where it very first started. What was the very first moment that you and Ronnie connected and you got in the band or played with them?
Well, it wasn't too long after I moved on from AC/DC. It was only probably about 2 months. And my ex-wife at the time kind of knew Wendy and found out something was going on. Vin wasn't happy or whatever. But so I was looking for something to do, and it just sort of worked out. You know, I went down, rehearsed and stuff, and we just kind of got along really well. And the next thing, you know, Ronnie asked me to keep going and rehearse the new stuff for this new album that was going to be called Lock Up the Wolves.
And so you came in at the same time as Rowan. Oh, they just got beers. They couldn't care less about talking, right?
I know. I know.
What's your name again?
What was the question?
Exactly right. So you and Rowan came in at the same time.
Yeah, pretty well. Rowan and who was it? Teddy, because Jimmy Bain had left at that time too, and I think Claude Schnell had left too.
Yeah.
So when I came in, it was Rowan, it was Teddy Cook, and it was Jens Johansson.
Okay.
And Jens came in, and it was just, who's this guy? You know, it's like, you know, it's just a complete virtuoso, mind-blowing musician. You know?
And you maintained a very, very close relationship with Ronnie right up till his death. You actually lived with him, right?
Yeah, there was a few people who lived with him and stuff. Craig lived there for a while too, while we were recording and stuff and all. But I went through a really bad divorce, and I was going out. Well, fuck this! I'm not drumming anymore. I'm going back to England and starting a gardening company or something. Flea repellent or something. And it was really horrible. But Ronnie said, no, don't do that. Just keep doing what we're doing, and you can come stay at my house till you get all figured out. And the next thing I know, it was 14 years later. So, it was like fantastic. Good stuff.
I stayed with Ronnie as well, just for a little while, and I'd had grown a beard at that time, and
you had a beard.
Ronnie said,
"Were you
Ronnie
old
goes,
enough to grow a beard?"
This is later on. Ronnie goes, "What is?" He says, "This is beard aid."
Yeah, beard aid.
Beard aid.
Or beer aid.
Scott, when did you come into the picture? I'm trying to recall that because you've been around Ronnie and we're part of the bands. And as I said, Sabbath as well. So tell me about your connection to getting involved.
Well, I came in probably right around when Simon left. And Rowan, because I was hearing Ronnie would tell stories about you guys.
Well, we didn't leave, and Ronnie
yes.
kind of moved on to Black Sabbath, which
that's right. He did
enough.
the Black Sabbath and came back
awesome.
to Dio, and then Jimmy Bain had gone MIA. And I guess so. He also got Tracy G, I guess, and so then I walked in, and that was the lineup was Jeff Pilson, so it was a kind of a new lineup, and I was new kid on the block, and Vinny was in the band, and that went on for a couple of years. That was Strange Highways,
right?
Yeah, when I rejoined again, it was Tracy G and Scott, and who was playing bass? Larry Dennison?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people in the Dio band. When you think about it, there were way more people than I think people realize. I mean, we're focused on right now the original band and Holy Diver because that's the record that's getting reissued. But if you look out through the arc of the catalog, there were a lot of people, and maybe some records people don't even realize that had come out, and many people love, including a record like Lock Up the Wolves and others. So there's a pretty big family tree, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, for one reason or another, I mean, there was some stupid reasons. There was some health reasons, I think, and stuff. And one of the funniest things was Larry Dennison, who was the bass player and stuff.
Right.
Because he was like in the Jay Leno band. And Jay was really cool.
No, he wasn't in the band. He worked for Jay Leno.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but he was the main dude that set up the bands.
Yeah, but Jay would love Ronnie. Loved Dio, and he would say, "Hey, yeah, go ahead. 2 months on the road with, and he could go off on the road with Ronnie, then come back and he'd still have his job."
Right. Then
it was cool.
Yeah. Then Jimmy Bain fell out of somewhere and was back.
Yeah.
And I guess Ronnie just couldn't resist because Jimmy was, the original bass player,
right.
And he wrote a lot of the songs too. So I was kind of thrilled about that.
Me too.
Larry was just a, cool guy and everything, good bass player. But when Jimmy came back, it's like, wow, this is going to be cool.
Yeah.
But he couldn't get his passport.
Yeah.
So then we had to get somebody else.
Yeah, it was this constant, well, who's in the band now?
I mean, Jimmy did all the states with us and everything, and he was on the wagon. He was doing really good, behaving himself, sort of.
Yeah.
But when we went to Europe, we had to use another bass player then, because he just couldn't get his passport.
I want to go around the horn here and get something from each of you, since you all shared the stage with Ronnie and shared tours and made music with him. Starting with you, Rowan, on the end, can you give us, is there one, and I know there's probably way more than one, but can you give me one highlight moment for you, whether it was recording or playing or even off the stage and out of the spotlight for you that still resonates and means so much from your time in Dio?
It was the beard thing, right?
The beard.
Yeah, beard aid. I think when I was recording the album and I was sitting in the vocal booth, and I was just playing on an acoustic guitar, and I was like, oh, that's a cool riff. And then I heard Ronnie say from the control room, who was watching me, and he was giving me the thumbs up. He's like, yeah. And we wrote it into a song. So that was a great memory.
What song was it?
That turned out to be Between Two Hearts.
Yeah.
Awesome. Simon, I mean, a lot of tours, a lot of records, a lot of moments, a lot of personal stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything for you that really still resonates that you always go to?
I mean, talking of Holy Diver, I mean, we went out and when was it? 2006.
Oh, I was at Roseland's. I actually brought you guys on at that show in New York. We played it in its entirety.
You're talking about Holy,
yes. Yeah, we played all of Holy Diver.
Right.
Holy Diver live, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And that was a thrill. I mean, you got to give it up to Vinny. I mean, his playing on that album was just stunning, right? It's just like, whoa, wait a minute. And to have the chance to play like that, that was something. Ronnie knew something special was going on there.
Did Vinny come out to any shows and give you some shit and say, Simon, you're doing it wrong?
He didn't come to the shows, but he'd still give me shit, yeah.
He didn't call you or anything?
No.
You missed that, Phil. That's not how I played it, Simon.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing it my way this time. Sorry. But it was such a thrill. I mean, it was, some of it was medleyed into a drum solo. There was a guitar solo. But it was just incredible playing that album the whole way through,
Yeah, there's a DVD of that. I remember because I believe it was shot at Roseland. I remember introing you guys at that. And it was very, very cool that it was a whole tour of playing Holy Diver, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Scott, for you, give us a moment that really jumps out.
Well, there's a couple, but I don't want to. Okay, the first one was I just had gotten the call to go on a tour. I had done Strange Highways, but that was it. We were supposedly Ronnie was going to go on, and then I got the call that I was going to go on tour. So we went to Europe, all over Germany, came back, and I thought, okay, that's cool. I'll put it on my resume. I did a Dio tour. That's cool, And he drove me home in his Jeep, right up to my doorstep. Not a limo, not off you go. And I got out. I said, well, thanks for the tour, Ronnie. He said, are you kidding, kid? This is just the beginning. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah. And then I was going through some hard times at the time, paying my rent. And I just thought I'd mention it to him on a Sunday night. And he goes, well, hold on a second. Yeah, I remember how to get to your house. And he drove up to my apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, and he had brought a bag of pennies. He had stashed because the banks were closed Sunday night. He goes, here you go. And I'm like, what is it? No, because I guess the rumor is that he did sort of collect pennies under his bed.
That thing.
And I'm like, what, pennies?
Yeah.
All right. And then there was the time.
So you got that, yeah?
Yeah.
Bastard.
And then there was.
I had my eye
then
on
this was a heroic moment I got to witness with Ronnie, and Vinny was there in Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath, when Tony hurt his back and we were sort of just got locked in because we couldn't play, so we had to cancel the show. And the promoter called the ambulances and police, and they had blocked us in, barricaded us in, so we couldn't leave. They wanted us to do the show, and Tony was in pain. So eventually the crowd was starting to get really crazy. So Ronnie, Geezer, I think Vinny and myself accompanied Ronnie up to the stage. The crew had already torn down, all the gear was gone. So he goes, I know I have to do this. So he marches up by himself in front of this rowdy crowd and started saying, hola. They're in Spain. He goes, started singing Heaven and Hell by himself, a cappella, like 80,000 people that were throwing chairs turned into singing along with him. And that was a moment that I think they appreciated, and I appreciated being there. But,
yeah. He calmed him down. Hey,
actually, I remember something too. I was when I was at Ronnie's, I was looking after Ronnie's house when he was on the road with Heaven and Hell, right? And his house is, not heavily fortified, but it's got big gates up and stuff. And I don't know, I'm feeding the cats in the kitchen or whatever, and I hear this. There's a knock at the front door, and I'm going, how the fucking hell is anyone knocking at the front door?
I know.
So I go down, and I'm next to the suit of armor, and I'm looking through the spy hole, and there's 2 cops, and I'm going, oh, okay. So I open the door, and they goes, excuse me, sir, are you Mr. Ronald Padavana? I go, no. what's the problem here? He says, oh, we can't talk to you. We just need to talk to Mr. Padavana. I said, well, you can't do that because he's on the road at the moment with a band called Heaven and Hell. He's actually on his way back. He was flying in the air as they were asking me his question. So, you know, I thought, you need to wait here because I need to call his manager. So I called Wendy and she said, who's at the door? You know, police, my God, don't let them in. You know, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Shoot them? You know, it's like, so it ended up that they spoke to Wendy on the phone and I was just looking after the house, you know. I mean, so, what it was, the reason that they wanted to get a hold of Ronnie was because there was a young man who was very, very upset. And he was up on a water tower up in Studio City. And
Above Studio City.
above, way above, right? Yeah. So he didn't want to live anymore. And the only person he wanted to speak to was the man on the Silver Mountain.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so Ronnie, you know, where'd he come back from? Anyway, it's like a long haul flight.
We had come back from, I was with him. I'll tell the rest I was on the other end of this.
Yeah. So apparently, you know, the police met him at the airport and, you know, Ronnie's, what the fuck is this shit? You know, so, but he said, okay, he listened. You know, Ronnie is just super smart. He goes, okay, I'll go see the guy. Let's go see him. You know? So, yeah, he was in the car with you, right? Or so
I got to get to a break, but in the whole end of the story is
he talked him off the tower.
He talked him off the tower, saved his life.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Rowan, Simon, Scott, thank you so much. Give them a round of applause, everybody.
Thanks, Eddie.